Hello, everyone. Welcome back. As you can see, we're joined with one of our favorite partners, Latasha James. I saw some of you are already excited in the comments, so love to hear it.
So excited to be here. Thanks for being here, everyone, and thanks for having me, Aniston and Team Metricool.
Of course, anytime. So we're really excited today to obviously jump into one of our favorite topics, social media planning. And we have a fun little feature we're going to share with you. We just launched it in our planner, and I think it's really going to level up your calendar syncing. So without further ado, Latasha, take it away.
Awesome. Well, I see some intros happening in the chat, and I would love if you could keep those going because I want to hear where everybody's tuning in from. It's always fun to see. Um, and we'll go ahead. I can't control the slides from my end, can I?
I don't think so, but let me see if I can change it really
Okay.
fast.
No worries. If not, we've got two Houston, Texas. Amazing. Um,
I know. Shout out Texas.
right? Aniston's in Austin, right? Okay, we've got a Detroit, Michigan. Hello, neighbor. And no worries if not, too. I can just kind of,
I think you should have control now,
okay.
but let me know.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Perfect, perfect.
Awesome.
All right. So keep those intros going. I want to keep hearing where you're from Mallorca, Spain, Little Rock, Arkansas. But I also want you to let me know what your biggest challenge right now is with content planning. I'm just curious to see if we can kind of speak to any of those issues, and I'll share some of mine. Satellite Beach, Florida, North Carolina, Ontario, Pittsburgh,
Wow.
Edmonton, Superior. We're all over the globe. I love it. That's like the most fun thing about teaching online is I'm like, wow, I never thought I would teach somebody from Denmark. That's so cool. So thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm going to share my biggest challenge has always been in my business. It's finding content to post both for myself and for my clients that's both timely and effective, and planning that ahead of time, especially when we think about like these summer months, right? Where, let's be honest, none of us want to be in the office longer than we have to. I'm all about the summer Fridays and taking more time off, enjoying that sunshine. But I don't know if y'all can experience this or can relate to this, is that sometimes when you over plan, it's like the content is no longer relevant. I'll plan something out for 3 months in advance and then I'm like, this just doesn't feel timely anymore. It doesn't feel fresh. It's not relevant. So Brittany said, biggest challenge is making enough content for my clients. I get that for sure. Also, like coming up with all the different ideas for so many different clients. Julia says, constantly trying to find something new and fresh week after week. Yep. Hello to Ronald McDonald House is here. That's amazing, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Let's see. Justin just got started. There was no social media strategy or planning. Biggest struggle we had is getting a plan set in place. Hence why I'm here. All right. Well, you're in the right place, I think. So, um, what we're going to cover today is really what I'm calling the ticket to a stress free summer. I want us to be able to spend like a week or two planning and then spend the rest of the summer at the beach. That's my goal for myself, at least. So, we're going to talk about number one, syncing your calendar. We have a really cool feature. Metricool has a really cool feature that I'm going to show you that enables you to stay really aligned on key dates, meetings, vacations, whatever you've got going on. You can really plan your social media content calendar around that. So I'm going to show you that. We're also going to talk about what to post, right? How to come up with ideas, content ideas for really any business that you're working with, and of course, how to post, how to actually prioritize your life, and not be glued to your phone or your computer all summer long. And I see some questions coming in too. I'm sure we'll probably have time at the end. So if I don't cover, things in the presentation, hold them and we'll definitely get to them at the end.
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to drop them in the chat and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end. And also if you are, just tuning in and didn't start from the beginning or not able to watch live, this will stay on our YouTube channel. So don't worry, we'll have the recording live and you can watch it back at any time.
Amazing. Thank you. So yeah, I want to hear a little bit. We've got a lot of locations going on. We're all over the globe, but tell us a little bit about yourself too. What do you do? Are you a social media manager in house? Are you an agency owner? Are you a freelancer? Always just curious to know who we're talking to. I am a social media marketer and a Metricool fangirl. I've been using Metricool probably for like 3 years now, give or take, and it's totally changed my business. It has just enabled me to be so much more efficient working with my clients and also just planning out my own content calendar because I do have a podcast and a YouTube channel and all the things as well as running, content for my clients. So I've worked with brands as big as Kelly Services and as small as my local vegan ice cream shop. So really all across the board. And I really feel that no matter the business type, Metricool is such an important tool to keep things organized, to find new content ideas, keep your team aligned if you're working with a team. So be sure to check them out. I think we have, if you're not already using Metricool, I'm sure we have a link for you to try um, Metricool that we'll drop in the chat or wherever you're watching.
Yes, absolutely. At the end, we'll share a little surprise as well if you're not a Magical user for a little trial code. So make sure to stay until the end. Um, yeah.
Amazing. Cool. We've got a vegan ice cream fan in the building. This is awesome. Okay. All right. So here's what I this is like the number one rule of content planning for me is build your content calendar around those key dates. So start there. Whenever I start with a new client or even for myself, I go quarter by quarter is how I usually plan out my own content. I start with those key dates. And what a key date might mean is like a sale, a promotion, a big announcement. So for me, maybe Q4, right? We've always got Black Friday, Cyber Week. That's kind of like the big key date that I am planning around. I'm plotting that out first and foremost and getting all my stuff ready for that because everything else is going to kind of like feed into that and I can build around that. And so do the same thing for your clients. When you first or your company, use that however it applies to you. But if you first sign on with a company or sign on a client, talk to them, right? Have a conversation with them about, hey, what are the seasons or what are the key dates that you see ahead for the year or that you see annually that tend to be important for you? Some businesses are super, super busy in the summer. Some are like, we basically go on hiatus in the summer, So it's important to know that because you're going to need more evergreen content, which we'll talk about a little bit later, or more kind of filler content if that is the case for the summer, right? Repurposing old content, things like that. So start there. I like to use an onboarding survey. You can just use like a Google form, or if you have a CRM that you use, get all those seasonal trends, dates on your calendar in advance. I also think communication is so, so important with clients. So have a recurring monthly meeting on the calendar, even if you don't have a ton, on your mind, just have it to continue to build that relationship, number one, but also just so you have that open forum to kind of talk about, hey, what's coming up for the month ahead that I can plan my calendar around. And then here's the big thing what I do is I create a Google Calendar for each of my clients. So there's a way in Google Calendar to actually, assign different calendars to different names. You can call them whatever you want. So I start with that. I start with those key dates. Let's just pretend Metricool, they're not my client per se, but we work together on content, right? So let's just say they have a big launch coming up in August. I'm going to put that on my Google Calendar and say big launch, whatever the feature is, tag it to Metricool so that I have that, in my mind and on my Google Calendar. And then we're going to actually connect that and I'll show you how to do that. So this is really exciting. And Aniston, feel free to jump in here if I'm like missing anything because this feature is new. But what's really cool about the planning tool in Metricool is we now have this ability. If you see those little three dots underneath, kind of like the funnel situation, there is this social calendar feature that we have now. So if you click on add calendar, what you can do is you can actually paste in the URL for your Google Calendar and it will populate those key dates. Am I getting that right, Aniston?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm happy to pull up the platform as well to show you in action if that would make it easier. Um,
Yeah, let's do
let's
it.
see. Okay, cool. So, yeah, as Latasha mentioned, there is an option here to so there's a few different options with this. It's basically called our import calendar feature. So we already have some kind of preset calendars for different regions. So key dates in the US, in the UK, and Canada. So this is anything, from Memorial Day to random holidays like National Cheese Day, like all over the map. As we know, there's these random, national key dates where some might be really important and some might be just kind of fun, creative ways to, share fun, different content. But as well as these kind of preset dates, you can also add a calendar from your public iCal link. So if you're wondering, like, how do I even do that? You're going to go to import calendar and then add the URL. So it says sync your calendar from another app like Google Calendar and your public iCal link. So I'm going to pull up my Google Calendar just to kind of show you what this would mean. So when you're in your calendar, you can go to the settings menu. And then as you go in the general settings, you can go down to, um, let's see where it is. Add calendar from URL. Oh, no, never mind. I'm like, I know that there's a way to do this.
I always lose it too. There's
I
too many
know.
options.
Let's see. Go through all of the settings. Oh, import and export. No? Never mind. We're gonna find it. Hold on.
Is it under view options or event? I can't remember. No.
I know me either.
I was just doing this last night.
I know, wait. Mhm. You're just gonna see all of my all of my meetings and all of my calendars. Okay, give us a second and
You I wonder if you have a because for mine, when I'm pulling it up right now, it shows up under calendar settings. It's like right underneath it says access permissions for events. So I wonder if maybe you have a privacy setting that doesn't let you
Oh,
show that.
okay, that's weird.
Yeah, because mine shows like right there.
Underneath just the language and
Yeah. Oh, okay, Janice is helping us. You have to go to a specific calendar. So if you go
ah,
yes,
yes,
perfect.
you're
J
right. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So in yes, as Janice said, go to a specific calendar. So for example, we have our events for Metricool. So whenever our team is going to an event, we, have those dates. Then you can plug it in by going to integrate calendar. Okay, so now we have this public URL to the calendar. So you're basically going to copy this link, and then when you go into the calendar here, you can add the URL. So I already have I already have the events calendar added in here. But for example, yesterday on or Tuesday, we had a event in Italy. We make future. So as you can see, it's already added. So you can add as many calendars essentially as you would like, and then it will populate up here. Um, Again, I have multiple calendars connected, so not only my personal events, but then all of the social media manager calendars. So you can see it's a lot of dates. But if you want to connect, just one, then you can do that as well. Oopsie. Sorry for the
amazing.
technical difficulties.
Many brains are better than one. We all work together on
Yes.
it. Cool. So yeah, this is really cool because you can add in all of your different clients or, one of your clients, whatever you wanna do, and you'll be able to see when you're actually planning your content what's coming up, what's ahead. Hey, Metricool has a launch, client B has a launch, client C has a launch, and you can start building your content around that.
Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the slides again.
Cool.
Gotta go to.
Perfect. All right, so you add in okay, so we've got our calendars added in. Now, what I recommend is using systems to actually help you organize your content. I know that this was something a lot of us said that we struggle with is how do we actually decide on what content to post? How do we, create it all, right? So, number 1, if you are familiar with my content, you've probably heard me talk about content pillars before. And if not, think of them as kind of buckets or categories of content. You want to have these upfront. Again, this is something that I recommend talking to your client, talking to your, manager with at the outset of the relationship. Like, what do we want to focus on? What are the categories of content that we really want to focus on? And the trick is to make sure that you actually align them to your business goals. So I'll share a couple of examples of this in a second. But for instance, for me, I love a lot of things. Okay. I'm very multi passionate. I love art. I love music. I love business. I love food. But I want to make sure that my main categories of content are focused around things that I actually have a solution for that I can sell and make an income from, right? I can talk about those other things in bits and pieces, but I want to make sure that the core focus is around in supporting my business goals. The other thing to think about is repurposable content. So what I really love about Metricool is that I can kind of start with my main content platform, which for me is YouTube, and I'm always thinking YouTube first. Like that is my content strategy. Everything I do thinks YouTube first. But then when I'm scheduling to YouTube, whether it's a short or even like a long form piece of content, I can then click and just add another social network to that, post and easily, you know, amplify my efforts a little bit without having to fully reinvent the wheel. And then I also want to talk about evergreen content. This is something that is very important to also get ahead of so that when you are in a slow time, when you don't have much on your calendar, you always have content to cycle through. And there's actually a really cool feature in Metricool that enables you to do this too, a little bit easier. So, content pillars. Let's just pretend this is a restaurant. Let's pretend that I'm working with. So I want to choose no more than 2 to 3 main content pillars or buckets of content that I can cycle between and talk about that support those business goals. So for this restaurant, I might do a weekly menu, right? So I know every single week I'm going to get the chef's special, make sure that my client gets me photos or I go in and get photos and videos, and that is just a recurring kind of pillar of the content. And the business goal is pretty obvious for that, right? It's to highlight the food, to get people hungry, to get people want to come in to the restaurant. Now, I also might create a pillar that's more team focused. Number 2, meet the team, where I can go around and take photos of the staff, ask them what their favorite menu item is, ask them what their favorite thing about working here is, ask them about neighbors in the community that they like to support. There's so many different ways that you can spin that. But the goal of that is really to build relationships, and it's a big customer service play, right? We want to showcase that we put our customers first. We have an amazing team that's ready to welcome you into our restaurant. And then the last one is time to celebrate, or you could call that whatever you want. But let's just use that as events, right? Things that might be going on in the community, but also some of those bigger celebration type of things that might be holidays. Hey, come into the restaurant to pick up your Christmas orders. If we do, what I don't know what you call that, to go, whatever, catering, whatever, um, or come in for to celebrate New Year's Eve because we have a plated dinner special, right? So that's a great way to make sure that your content is staying timely and it's not all just kind of like evergreen. It really is changing up with the seasons and you're latching on to bigger trends that are happening in the social media world. Okay. Um, So, when we think about actually finding our content mix, here's the other thing that I like to do, when I'm first getting started with a client is number 1, I take an inventory of what they already have because we often go straight to point 3 here of creating content, and we make our jobs a lot harder than they need to be. Chances are, unless you're working with a client that is brand new, they have absolutely nothing, no website, no emails going out, they are starting from scratch. Chances are they actually have a lot of content that you can pull from, at least in the beginning, while you are figuring out what you really do need to create brand new. So, start by curating content from internal sources. By that, I mean, look at the company, the website, look at the blogs on their website. Ask them if you can get access to their newsletter tool to source old newsletters and look at the analytics for this stuff too to see what performed well. And I create a document. You can do this in Notion or Google Docs or whatever you like to do, and just start copying and pasting, content that you can use either in its entirety or start to repurpose and use, maybe a blog or a newsletter becomes a social media caption, that kind of thing. Um, I know Metricool also has some amazing like planning features that you can kind of start to dump these ideas into too, which is great. Um, and also looking at analytics within Metricool too is a great way to do this. There's a reuse content feature in Metricool also. So these are all great ways to kind of start curating content so you're not starting from absolute scratch. Um, you can also curate content from external sources. So if there is any industry news, right? We use this restaurant example. Maybe there's a restaurant industry publication that highlights, I don't know, the importance of sustainable foods or something like that, and that's important to your client as well. You can supplement your content with some of that stuff. Also, UGC or user generated content, that's really low hanging fruit, as I like to say. So go on to the Instagram, look at their tagged posts. Chances are there are already people talking about your client or talking about your job already, and ask them if you can repurpose that content, if you can repost that content that they've already posted, so there's already stuff there available for you. And then lastly, that's when you want to go into creating content to fill in those gaps. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when we're starting from absolute scratch, now Aniston showed us kind of in the live demo this feature, but I want to go into it a little bit deeper too. Within that same social calendars feature, you can add a calendar, and we've got these social calendars already populated that the wonderful Metricool team has done for us. So if you want to skip that Google Calendar step, or if you want to do it, in addition to, you can click on, like, I'm in the US, so I would click on the social media calendar US. And now I've got all of these different national days, holidays, that kind of thing that are going to show up in my calendar. Now, just because they show up doesn't mean I have to use them, because again, we want to think about those content pillars, right? For me and my brand, it might not make sense to talk about, I don't know, like National Cheesecake Day because I'm vegan, so I don't eat cheesecake and I don't sell, recipes or anything like that. But maybe like National Admin Day, I could thank my virtual assistant or talk about how to become a virtual assistant because I do talk about marketing, online business, that kind of thing. So you don't have to use these, but they're really great thought starters, idea starters for when you are like, shoot, we've got nothing going on this week. What do we talk about? So, again, restaurant example, here we go. I might be like, I've got all these amazing photos. I went in and did this photo shoot with them. I don't know what to talk about. Well, maybe I see for the month ahead, it's National Root Beer Day. Send a quick email to my client and say, could we do root beer floats? Could we do a special? Right. And start to truly act as a consultant and start suggesting those ideas to highlight. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how that portion of the calendar integration works. Now, also another thing is evergreen content I want to talk about because this is really what saves me a lot of the time. in my personal, brand and for my clients. Again, when I'm like, I don't know what to post, I've got, nothing going on. So this is what really helps you in enjoy your life a little bit more, as I like to say, and not be so glued to your phone. So, evergreen content, first of all, let me kind of explain what that is. Just like an evergreen tree, right? It's relevant all the time. It's content that is really going to support those core content pillars, your core brand messaging, your core offers pretty much all the time. So I could say, like, for instance, Metricool is a social media tool, an analytics tool. It's a great tool for social media managers. That's a statement that's going to be relevant whether they have a new LinkedIn feature or not, right? Like whether it's August or January. That is a statement that I could use pretty much any time with just a link to sign up. That would be considered an evergreen post, right? Um, Something, if we're going back to the restaurant example, we might not be able to share a weekly menu item as evergreen content, but maybe there is an always on, like a staple. They have a signature breakfast, that they offer every single day, all year, not seasonal at all. That's evergreen content. So I really love the Metricool auto list feature for this, actually. And I take some time with every new client to go in and set up auto lists. And what this does is this enables you to decide which platforms do we want to post to? What is the timing? Do we want to post every Monday at 11 a.m.? Do we want to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m.? Whatever schedule you want to make up, whatever frequency. And then you can actually just go in. I think I have a screenshot. Yeah. And start posting evergreen posts and filling this up so that it cycles through these different posts. So I just used an example pretending that I was working with Metricool. I found some texts on their website, based on I think this is a LinkedIn study or LinkedIn kind of article that they had. This would be pretty much always relevant. Pasted in the link, and you can kind of go through and start adding as many posts as you really want to cycle between for this auto list. So now your calendar is automatically populated with this stuff and you don't really have to think about it. Did I describe auto list correctly?
Yes. No, you did it perfectly. It is a little bit confusing because, sometimes people are like, "Wait, I don't understand that," it's this you can choose to have it repeat on a cycle. So instead of, going through this list, once it's gone through the list, it basically starts at the top again. So perfect, as you mentioned, for evergreen content that's, always going to be valuable to your audience. And it will go on the however you configure it from every Monday and Saturday. It can be a little bit confusing, but once you play around with it, it'll make more sense. And also, it's great for podcasts and blogs, things that you can have an RSS feed to link directly within this, which I'm sure you can, relate to that as you have a podcast.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. It is a little bit overwhelming at first, I understand for sure, but you
Yeah.
explained it perfectly.
Yeah, that's such a good point too. Like I'm always like, I need to remind myself this. It's like I get so focused on my weekly podcast and then it's like, all right, I'm done with it. But it's like you can get so much more life out of,
Mhm.
that by repurposing and like referencing back to stuff too. So amazing. So going backwards a little bit, like I'll show you, I'm using Metricool as an example. Let's pretend you get a brand new client, right? It could be Metricool, it could be your local massage place, it could be your local restaurant, whatever this is. Scour that website. That is like step one. Scour that website for content that you can use to start populating those auto lists and building out that evergreen content. So I always look at the, kind of like the top bar, that like the announcements bar, if you will. So it looks like Metricool, when I logged in yesterday, to take the screenshot, they've got a new study out, which I'm so excited to dive into, by the way. So that's content that easily could be used, right? I'm sure there's going to be some good nuggets in there that you can start using to drive home the value of ads and using metrical for ads. I also would look at any like blog sections, education sections. So Metro School is here. So they've got all kinds of stuff. Like they've got the blog, they've got the tutorials, newsletters, right? This is like amazing. This is a gold mine here for evergreen content if I was Metricool's social media manager, which I'm not. And they have amazing social team, obviously. But I'm sure that's what the team is often doing is going through these educational resources to pull content from. So you can do the same thing with your clients. And then just don't forget the details. You know, this is really, in my opinion, what I think makes Metricool so special too is you guys have such amazing details. You know, we're not just like posting the text, posting the image, and then letting it go because we know that there's more to it than that, right? We wanna add those finishing touches like hashtags. There's hashtag libraries within Metricool. You can do user tags. So if I'm maybe tagging a collaborator, if I'm tagging Metricool because I'm talking about them, that amplifies my reach because they're gonna get a notification and they're probably gonna wanna share it with their audience too. You can add, product tags, location tags, all that kind of stuff to really add those finishing touches. And then just going back to the basics, always make sure you review, spell check. Metrical also has AI integrated in there too. So that can be helpful too if you want to just like, you know what, sounding like the same in every single post, you can sort of rewrite your post, which is nice. But do those things, especially when you're batch planning, because I know like my brain can kind of get a little fuzzy after after like the second hour of planning content and I start to misspell things or start to like really repeat my verbiage and stuff a lot. So just go through a little tip is I like to take a break. So I'll do like my first pass of planning. I'll take like a break or come back the next day to review and like really set everything live just so I'm kind of coming at it with a fresh pair of eyes and a fresh mind. And then schedule your posts or send it for approval, just depending on the arrangement that you have with your client. What's great is Metricool enables you to schedule and auto publish, or you can get post reminders, just depending on if you prefer to like be in there and maybe add some of those in-app finishing touches, and or you can send content for approval. So if you've got a manager that wants to review things, a client that wants to review things, if you hire within your business, if you hire a virtual assistant or a junior social media manager, you can have them do a lot of this planning for you. And then you, can go through and add those like finishing touches and kind of your final expertise. So,
I also, sorry not to cut you off,
no,
but
please do.
the great thing about the calendar as well is, say for example, you kind of have a first idea of a post, but you aren't sure, you want to just kind of keep it on the calendar and you're like, I'm going to get back to this later. Save it in drafts, or there's also a post library where you can kind of post different ideas and they're just going to sit there and, not be added to the calendar. So both great options for, content ideas that you haven't fully developed into fruition and just want to have on the calendar. Or if you want, you see that the Met Gala is coming up and you're like, I don't know what to post yet, but I'm just going to have a placement here. Save it in drafts, put it on the post library. Both great options.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I like to use that for my like I have ideas all the time and they come to me so randomly. Like they'll come to me like I'm in line at the grocery store or going for a drive or going for a walk. And so I have like an ongoing like Apple note that I
Mhm.
just drop those in. And then once a week, kind of in my admin day, I port those over to Metricool. So I have those ideas in my planner. So then when it's time to actually build those out, I'm not just like sitting at a blank screen, like, what do I post today? So I love it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, awesome. So that's kind of what I have on the Metricool calendar. I want to leave you all with for anybody who is a social media manager and who is looking to get more clients, look for a new job this summer, whatever you're looking to do. I have a social media manager portfolio challenge that I'd love to share with you. It's totally free. But it's like a 5-day email challenge. So get a new lesson every single day and get a little action item. And by the end of it, you'll have a template to start building out your social media manager portfolio. So we'll drop a link to that if you want to check that out. But I'll hand it back to you, Aniston.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Latasha. Yes, please sign up for that, especially if you're, wanting to go more freelance or as I saw a lot of you saying, your client work is really challenging. So this is going to help you have a full, amazing, ready to go portfolio. So make sure to sign up. It's free. And also for any of you who aren't Metricool users yet, we have, as I said, a free little gift for you. So if you want to try any Metricool premium plan for 30 days for free, you can use code Latasha and you're going to go into the platform, create your free account, and then there's going to be an option to upgrade to premium. This is where you will add in that code. And if you're like, wait, that's a lot of info, don't worry, we're going to have a post email going out to everyone who signed up with all of the info, with the presentation slides, also the link to this challenge, portfolio challenge. So a lot of things coming your way, and we want you to try them all. And now I'm just going to open it up to questions. If you want me to go back into the tool and show you, anything, feel free to drop them now. I know that we had some questions come in earlier that we might have not answered. So feel free to drop all of your questions or feedback. Would love to hear what you have to say.
Amazing.
Oh, yes. This will stay on our Metricool YouTube page under our live videos. And also the recording link will be sent out via email to everyone who signed up. So don't worry, we're not going to go anywhere.
Awesome. See, a lot of people are already using autolists, which is awesome. This was like a new feature to me, actually. I'd been using Metrical for a couple years before I really discovered the magic of it. So I'm glad you all are using it too. It really is so helpful.
So I can't say anything yet, but we do have some exciting news coming for personal LinkedIn accounts. So stay tuned. It's going to be a big launch. So I can't say anything yet, but just make sure to check our website, our emails, announcements, and you'll find out soon.
I love LinkedIn. I love that people are curious about it.
Yeah, it's just now such a, I mean, with video content and with personal branding, I think it's going to be just such a huge channel this year. And especially for us, we're really excited to kind of launch some new exciting features. Mm. This is an interesting question. In regards to buckets or content pillars, as Latasha mentioned, is it an even split on that content or leaning into certain ones?
That's a great question. So I think it depends on the business goals, right? Again, you wanna tie these content pillars to your business goals. Um, I sometimes like, I'll use the example of a company like Virgin Voyages. They obviously they're a cruise company, a cruise line. They really target, like, their child-free cruise line, adults-only cruise line, but they also have this sustainability angle. They don't allow any plastic on their cruise ships. They have this goal to become carbon neutral by some year. I don't know what year, but that's a big angle for them is
Mhm.
sustainability. Now, obviously, if I've never worked with Virgin Voyages, but I like to use them as an example because I think their missions are really clear. Um, if I were working with them as a client, obviously the number one goal is to book more cruises and to make them more money so they can stay afloat, no pun intended, right? So I'm probably going to lean like more into the features of the cruise ship, the promotions that they have going on, all of that kind of thing. But I still am going to make the sustainability and kind of those values a pillar because it is important to them. And it also speaks to their target audience. Like they're targeting more kind of millennials who tend to be a little bit more, focused on that kind of thing when they're making their purchasing decisions. So I am going to integrate that, but I'm not going to obviously post like 50-50 or 70-30 about sustainability versus promotions. So you kind of have to feel it out per client. For me personally, like I kind of cycle between them pretty evenly between my personal content pillars. But yeah, you gotta kind of gotta feel it out. Hope
Yeah,
that
that's a
helps.
good call out. I think also your content pillars per channel are going to be important. Where overall you might have kind of these similar, obviously messaging key kind of categories and topics you're going to hit, but look into your demographics per channel. And if you have kind of an older demographic for Facebook, maybe you're going to mention the more, as you said, Virgin Voyages, the adult only, and look at your demographics and your data per channel because you might, have more of a lean into one content pillar on one channel versus another even split. So, as we say, the data always tells us, the story and the insights to your audience.
Such a good point.
Okay, this is a good question, one that we get a lot. Someday, someday the networks are going to open API for scheduling scheduling trending audio in our tool. But until that day, we have two workarounds that we like to share for easier scheduling and instead of manually uploading the content. So the two ways we like to explain, one is if you already have a video that's edited with the music inserted, then you can upload it to Metricool, and usually Instagram Reels will detect that content, that audio. So then when you go out to schedule it, it will already be added to your post. Or if you don't want to trust that, or you have this video and want to add the music later, you can turn off the auto publish. And when your content is scheduled out at that time, it'll send you an email of your content is ready to post. So then you'll have the content in your email, upload it to Instagram Reels, and then tag on the audio. I know it's not the most perfect workaround, but until we can have access, those are the two solutions we have for that. So I hope that helps.
And I'll just say in Metricool's defense, like, this is an API thing, it's not a Metricool thing. I get that asked a lot, like, "Do you know of any tools?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't know of any." So, yeah, it's like
Yes,
it's blame Instagram.
for sure. Okay, this is a great one, and I'm actually going to pull up the tool for this because if you haven't heard of our Canva integration, then this is going to change your life. So let me share my screen really fast. Okay, so we do have an option to plug in both your Canva and Google Drive accounts. So essentially, this will allow you to have all of your graphics and your designs within Metricool directly. So you're going to connect your Canva account. Um, as soon as you get access to it, then you'll log me off. As soon as you have your Canva account connected, then it will pull up all of your designs here, and you can search in Canva for specific designs. But this is a huge game changer, so that you don't have to transfer your graphics, download them, re-upload them to the platform. And the same goes with Google Drive as well.
Love it.
This is a great question. One that I might have to take back to product because I'm trying to see if there's a way um, to add your business location, which is a really great
Mm.
call out. And when I'm opening it up, let's see. I don't know if you're able to tag it directly in here. So that might be something that you would do in the calendar, instead of the auto list. But let me get back to you on that because that is a great idea. Okay, yeah, our team is saying that I don't think it's available right now, but something we will definitely bring back to product because that would be an awesome feature.
Yeah. And You still can so, like, the autolist is it'll still show up in the calendar, right? So, I guess,
Yes.
you could I still always recommend you go through week by week and, like, see what's going out that week.
Right.
So you can still, like, make those optimizations week by week if you needed to, but it would be nice if you could just do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what about Adobe? So we
Mm.
actually just recently launched Adobe Express integration. So let me pull up, I'm in a monthly view, which by the way, if you want to change your calendar view to day, week, or month, I know that someone previously had asked about that. So a great way to look at, not only your content, but the key dates per month. So if you were to go into say I'm scheduling a post, similar to connecting your Canva or Google Drive, we have Adobe Express in beta. So similar to just connecting, your accounts, you're going to allow access to your Adobe Express account, and then you'll be able to pull up it directly into um, Metricool. So another great feature.
So cool.
Okay, I think that's might be all the time we have for. I know that there's a ton of questions and so many things that we might not be able to get through today. But if you do have any additional questions, feel free to ask us, leave them on the comments in this video, or reach out to our email. We also have a chat support in Metricool for any kind of questions within the tool. Um, Again, this will stay on our live YouTube channel, so watch it back at any time. And also look out in your inbox for the recording, the presentation slides, Latasha's portfolio challenge, and a little free trial for all of you who are not Metricool users yet. And thank you guys so much for joining. This was amazing. I hope it was as useful for y'all as it was for even me just listening to Latasha. I always learn something new from her. So thank you again, Latasha, for being here.
Yeah, likewise. I always learn something from you all too. So thanks for having me and thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks
Bye.
again. Bye.